Welcome to another episode of the Prep Coach podcast. And today it's just the two Michaels, me and MG. How you doing, brother? How's everything feeling coming into what a big weekend that we had, but also coming into this week?
Good, man. That was like a rap burst. You didn't even realize it, but you just rhymed everything.
Did I?
Yeah, it was really good. You've been practicing. Oh man, I tell you what, it's been a whirlwind. Last week was awesome. I'm sure we're going to get into the New South Wales show in a little bit. ICN show was on as well, which looked like it was a really, really great show for Vic as well. But as you know, man, a couple of hours extra today at the moment wouldn't go astray. Even I also have a daughter who just wants to fight every single time she's due to go to sleep. So that throws another spanner in the works, man. But we're getting towards the end of the season, man. It's crazy because you build up towards a comp season, you know, as a coach and, you know, even as a pro, you know, federation owner. And you're like, well, we've got a big, you know, 2 or 3 months ahead, man. And I swear to God, you blink and you're 1 or 2 shows left.
I know. I can't believe it's like 2 weeks until we go to Bali.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. And yeah, we've got obviously our nationals this weekend, ICN the following, and then our Bali. So, you know, within 3 weeks, this whole season is going to be wrapped up, and it just went so fast. But we obviously had the show on Saturday, New South Wales, bigger than the one that we held at the start of the year, which was absolutely awesome. Had some amazing athletes. But how was it going back to that venue? I'm kind of spewing we don't have Scotty on this podcast. I know he's absolutely flat out because I wanted to get his feedback because it's the first time he's ever seen it. But how did you feel going back to that Bankstown venue?
There's definitely, I think I might have said this, I certainly said it to a couple of the athletes at check-ins. It's probably one of my favorite venues to run a show out of. And it's the whole experience. It's not just the venue. It's when you walk into the complex itself. Anyone who hasn't been to the Bankstown Sports Centre, it's coupled on with it's like a mini Vegas or at least a mini Crown, right? The restaurants are all designed as if they were, you know, built into fake rock walls. It's a pretty cool venue. And then when you walk into the actual theatre itself, the way the seating is, the actual stage, the lighting, it's such a cool production. It's just such a cool space. So it was awesome to get back there. And of course, you know, seeing the show increase in terms of registrations and numbers the way that it did just made it so much more special. Now we had a little bit of an issue with the venue with some unfortunate fire alarms that kept going. But by the way, I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but a funny story. So the fire alarms go off. It happens sometimes from shows. You can't control it. It's got nothing to do with us. It's just the venue. And it actually had something to do with the venue smoke machine, right? It's their smoke machine. They coordinate it. They control it. We just use it. And I'm not sure what division it was, but I'm obviously emceeing. I'm on the stage. Did you notice, you might not because you're at the door, but did you notice that like 2 or 3 firefighters came in from the back of the stage?
No, I didn't because... Wow, I didn't realize. Yeah. I thought they were going to rock up for sure.
No, they came in. So they literally came in from behind our NBA banner. And let me tell you, the 2 guys that came around the corner were like absolute jacked studs. And I'm like, is this about to be like a show? Like, have they gone through the wrong door or something? It was hilarious. But that was the first one. And then I'm not sure if you found out, but what happened, it went off again. And apparently a patron from the venue was vaping in an area that they shouldn't, and that was setting off the fire alarm. So credit to all the athletes that were on stage doing their quarter turns when those fire alarms went off. Again, out of our control, but very, very well managed. Just kept going with your turns, kept going with your posing, kept it professional, and the show went on. So that's live entertainment sometimes, man. But yeah, other than that, the venue was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, we did actually have that happen. Remember in the autumn season, in season 8, the fire alarm went off at the start before the show even started, and we started like half an hour late because the fireys literally came in.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the venue forgot to isolate the fire alarm in a certain area and the smoke set it off or whatever that may be. But literally,
I thought I was about to get a lap in, man.
The fiery starts ripping off. Exactly. A different type of show.
Yeah, New South Wales border, man. You know, one of the things this season, having now done virtually every state show we've got nationals this weekend, is just the quality of competitor that Australia has all across Australia. We've got some incredible athletes that have, you know, graced our stages, and, you know, we've got some amazing coaches as well doing an incredible job. And I just feel like, you know, over the last 12 months, through, you know, things like this podcast and many other, you know, good resources, that the industry is definitely leveling up. and we're getting a better quality of competitor more consistently, more often, and we're not hearing about, so many terrible prep methods and strategies that we used to. So, and I hope that this podcast has contributed to that in some way.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a level up of athlete quality in general, but even coaching quality, I think, too. So even just protocols that we hear about, we're just not seeing that anymore, which is honestly great. It's just really, really good to see.
Man.
Yeah.
So, man, you had the ICN VICs on the weekend. I had my team go and do Ballarat, but you had a big team actually go and do ICN VICs, and I know that you did really well. How was that show?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I had 4 competitors pretty much. I had someone in the first division all the way to the last division. So it was definitely a long day, especially after, running the New South Wales show the day before, having to fly in. Remember, they lost my bag?
Yeah.
So we were waiting for ages, and I had to get it delivered a couple of days later. So by the time we got home, got to sleep, wound down, and then had to go, basically to another show. Luckily, we weren't running it. We're just coaching in it, but it was definitely a long day. But firstly, I just want to put this out there that an absolute credit to Tony and Patricia. I don't know if anyone knows the tragic news that happened last week. It was definitely public on the news, and also I know ICN also put a post about it. But there was a tragedy in Patricia's family, and I was not expecting her to be there. And to see her when I walked in at the door, and to see that she was trying to put on a brave face, it was honestly very, very difficult. I went up to her, I gave her a hug. We actually walked outside because she was obviously very, very upset and didn't want to have her, in front of everyone. And I honestly got a bit emotional, to be honest, because, Tony and Patricia, they've been there since we started coaching. Like, they're the first shows that we put athletes in, and that's many, many years ago. And we almost treat them like family, and they've always been so good to us. And to see them going through that tragedy, it really hit me. So, talking to Patricia at the start, and then obviously going to see Tony, and that was really, really hard too, because, knowing how hard it is to run shows and to how much stress is involved, but you have to put it on a brave face, but then also go through that tragedy too. I commended him too. And again, I was really, really emotional talking to him, because I just felt for him and his family so much. And to have the whole family there was amazing. And they just ran that show. And, obviously they've got people there to help them. Wayne's there, Wayne's son's there, who he's been doing absolutely amazing. But both the boys, like, if we ever talk about, will Tony and Wayne ever step down and sell it to someone? No, those boys are taken over. Tony's son and Wayne's son, they've been, at shows since they were little, and they are so mature, and they run that thing like clockwork. Wayne's son was wearing a suit every day, like proper professional. He's so
that's my kind of guy, man.
I
wear the suit on stage. So
and he was just all over it, and so was Tony's son. But Orlando, they really came together, and I honestly have to commend them on that. And it was a very, very well run show, like it always is. It was on time, it was on the money, and they did a really, really good job under those circumstances. So,
man, I couldn't imagine, having to go through what she went through and still rock up and be, the incredible, infectious personality, beautiful human being that Patricia is. It just says a lot about her as an individual to still be able to show up and do that, knowing that she's on the front door, seeing everyone when they walk in. She's the reason. And you and I have spoken about this on a podcast before. You go to a show for a Patricia hug sometimes, right?
You do.
So, you do, right? So for her to still be able to do that, and then, Tony to put on a brave face. I know what it's like holding the mic all day and trying to keep people energized and up and active, and you're grieving at the same time. So, we want to send out, condolences to them, but also, congratulations on still putting on what sounds like it was an awesome show on all accounts. So,
yeah, well, they got that big show in 2 more weeks' time, the Nationals. So if anyone is there, show them as much love as possible, because what they've done is incredible. To go through that hardship and still put on shows is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, definitely, man. We'll be there at that show as well. So looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, it was a really successful day. I'll have to say that I was, really, really impressed with the judging, and I am with VIX all the time. I know there was a podcast last week that obviously, had a lot of strong thoughts about the ICN judging in Queensland, and it's from guys that are very, very well respected, been in the industry for a long, long time, and for them to get to a point to publicly put something out there, they must have been really at their last straw. So I just want to say that here in Vic, I was very impressed. So that's my feedback. And not just because my clients did well, it's more so that, we talk about consistency in judging and also consistency in placings. The one that is first on the podium should be, obviously the ideal for the category. The one that is second is the next step down, and third is the next step down. And you should see this flow-on effect from the placings, right? It's exactly what I saw. And I only saw the female show, and I saw every single division because I had someone in everything, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly saw that. I was like, okay, that's the winner there. Second looks a little bit less than that. Third looks a little bit less than that, and so on and so forth. So they did really, really well with the judging, and it was super consistent. And they went with a very, traditional specific look that I was expecting to see across all those categories, to be honest. And there was no, the same top two were in sports and fitness, but one was more fitness and she won that, and one was more sports and she won that. And then same with swimsuit, there was a specific look they went for, what you would expect, a bikini but more petite look. They went for that. That's what they awarded. And then bikini was obviously, that full balance of X-frame, conditioning, roundness, and presentation, and that's what they kind of went for with that too. So, I know there was some bad press about Queensland, and I know that also during that there was also comments about some other states, but Victoria has definitely done the right thing, and their judging was absolutely amazing. And I really just hope that for nationals it kind of steers in that path too. I know that last year people walked away a little bit confused, and we even spoke about that on a potty. But with the Victorian head judge being the Australian head judge, Andrew, hopefully at the nationals he can really, really steer that ship when the other head judges from the other states come on board. I hope that he can, hold that position and really steer the things in a direction so it's super consistent and has a really, really positive outcome for them coming off the back of nationals. I really, really hope that for them. And, we talk about how good Tony is as a promoter, and you never see him get involved with judges. He doesn't come next to the table. He doesn't sit on the table. He's not directing any call outs. He's not on the mic during that time. I hope that also that is the case at nationals, where there is no one on the table except for the judges, and they're the only ones doing the job there. And I really hope that Andrew is the one that's steering the ship, so we can be proud of the ICN nationals and the outcomes that come of it.
Yeah, and ultimately it's important for us because, although we, run and, another federation, we're still coaches who put a lot of athletes in these shows. And, credit to Jess as well. We obviously had Jess on as a guest, and that was pretty much her explanation is like, and she did say in a big lineup, when there's lots of competitors, she actually finds it easier because there tends to be more closer to exactly what the criteria is. Mm-hmm. It can get a little bit skewed and a little bit harder when you're looking at maybe only 4 and they're all night and day from each other, versus you've got a lineup of 10, 11, 12. You tend to have 4 or 5 that hit the criteria. Just one is better than the next. So, exactly as she explained on the potty is how it looked like it was judged on the weekend, and certainly the same for Ballarat, because I had all of my team in that one, and that was super consistent too.
Yeah, like you'd expect sometimes at maybe a smaller show that maybe there aren't all the ideal physiques that you want for that category, so therefore the placings may look a little bit mismatched. But at a big state show where they've got over 100 competitors, and at a nationals where the best of the best comes, you should be able to see consistency from 1 to 5.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to that nationals. Looking forward to our nationals. I know you did a little bit of a story and a bit of an announcement on socials yesterday, just expressing our gratitude and thanks to everyone that supported NBA and the nationals being the biggest one we've ever held. And I can't.
Yeah, I was just excited. If everyone that watched the video could probably hear it in my voice that I would just had a look at where we're at in terms of registrations, and I was just so grateful to everyone. And yesterday I'd had a lot of conversations with coaches from around the country. Previously I'd always had a lot of conversations with Victorian coaches, but the network of coaches that have supported us from around the country that I'd spoken to yesterday, I was just so appreciative, and I just wanted to jump on and really thank all of them for their continued support, and equally for providing us really great feedback along the way. One of the things that we've always said is, we are open to feedback. People make suggestions to us. We discuss it because, we talk about always evolving and always making sure that it's athlete focused in terms of our decision making and our process. And I think that's helped us to get to where we are. We had a vision. We put a lot of these new things in place. They've been received well. And we've also taken on external feedback from people within the industry. I'm talking about coaches and athletes, and used that to help us progress forward. And I think the combination of both those two things has allowed us to get to the level of numbers that we've gotten. And I just didn't want anyone to feel like we weren't appreciative and grateful for all the support, because we truly, truly are.
Yeah, we do not take that support lightly at all.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about this weekend because, over the last couple of shows, obviously sometimes helpers are a little bit scarce, and I've had to, run the door. Scotty's had to run testing. You're obviously on stage, so you can't really see or speak to anyone. Stewie's on the table, but this time round, we've got a lot of help, which is awesome. So Scotty and I will be able to float throughout the whole show and do a whole lot of different things, but also talk to a lot of people too. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. But we're flying up on Friday morning, and then there's athlete check-in for that whole day. And then obviously we have the show on the Saturday, which is all the females, except for figure. And then on the Sundays, all the males, obviously including figure. But I know we're privy to the lineups, and we're privy to the people that are.
I was just about to say the same thing.
How excited are you?
Man, I being the MC, I've already gone through the lineups and just had a look at any names that I think might need a little bit of extra practice, which is just something that I always do. But without spilling the beans too much, just to get people a little excited, I think, was there 3 classes in wellness open? Like unheard of, right? 3 classes in wellness, or it's definitely in the double digits, which is phenomenal. Every basically open, and almost every beginner's in at least 2 or 3 classes. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I do love that we do is split it into more like a 6 or a 7, just to give people far more opportunity to be compared and viewed. Allow a little bit more time, but at least if you're one of 7 versus one of 14, the chance of getting a little bit more time to be compared next to that athlete that might be first or second is there, and it's available. So I definitely do like that. But yeah, multiple classes in basically every open and every beginners. I think I saw bikini under 25s had 16 girls just in the under 25s alone.
That's
so
crazy.
Just unheard of, man.
When we went through the lineups, we just said to Stu, good luck, mate. Good luck, because I don't know how you're going to judge this. So many great physiques across all the divisions. It's going to be epic. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be pro cards given away. Obviously, our first wellness pro card will be given away, which is exciting. So I don't know who's going to get the first one, but that's going to be super exciting too. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I know we spoke about, we've gotten a lot of talk in the recent year about Masters pro cards. I don't know how many times we get asked that question, especially just for us, but we also get it asked, through the page, and Stu gets asked too. And I think we're really going to make an effort to really look at, those Masters competitors and, offer pro cards to the ones that we think are pro worthy. So we're really, and we've already got Masters pros registered. So we do have Masters pro lineups, which is exciting too. So
man. I just want to take a second, even though we see him all the time, I want to give a shout out to Stewie, man. Stuart O'Brien obviously had a vision back, in 2018 on, evolving this sport and bringing consistency and transparency back. And he grinded, man, probably for a few years and building up and running some small shows, and he just kept at it. And I hope he has a moment this weekend where he just takes a breath, looks around, and gives himself that pat on the back for helping this to grow to a show where he's got upwards of 180 competitors, because the man like we do, but that man loves bodybuilding.
Oh yeah, yeah, he does. And yeah, like us three boys, we're so happy for him to see, what he started now grow to what it is now and continue to grow. And we couldn't be happier for him. But yeah, he's got a hard job on the weekend.
He's got it. Do you know what's funny? And this is just some fun facts. This is not a question that anyone asks us, but we'll just give some funny facts about Stu while we're on the potty. Even across a 2-day show, Stuart will not eat in the morning or during the show at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he won't.
He doesn't eat. He's too go. His adrenaline's pumping. He doesn't eat, so he doesn't eat the morning off. He definitely he definitely takes a high amount of caffeine. That's as we all do. But Stewie doesn't eat show morning or show day.
No, he doesn't. There'll be some lollies on the table, some chips, just to keep the blood sugar
over. Yeah, getting that sodium injection. Yep.
But yeah, those judges are definitely going to have a hard time, and it's obviously 2-day event. So
yeah, and with that judging panel for nationals, you've obviously got, I consider Stu to have one of the best eyes in the country for judging. But the panel that we have for that nationals show is elite and experienced as hell, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've got ones that have judged for IFBB that have been in judging for years.
For sure.
They've judged across multiple federations. They've seen a lot of bodies on stage.
For sure.
Actually, something that I wanted to bring up is I was actually having a chat to one of the ICN judges, and he asked about the way we do judging at NBA, and he had heard about the judging system, about the electronic system, and I explained it to him, and he was really, really impressed about it too. So about how
it just allows each judge to score and basically place their physiques in the order that they want, and then that just gets calculated.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you've got a system where the most votes for that first place is the winner. So it's quite a fair system, and it's a very, very transparent system as well.
Yeah, we basically know what judge scored what, and also really conversation doesn't need to be had between the judges. Like you don't need to go, oh, who do you have for this? Who do you have for that? They've just typed the numbers in on the screen, so
it's popping up. And then if it's kind of split, or people have a different opinion on maybe one shot is better than the other shot, then you'll see Stuart jump off his chair. You'll see him sit between these two judges. You'll see him sit between these two judges. They'll have a bit of a conversation. But one thing that he doesn't do, which I love, he doesn't just sit there and override. He'll get up. He'll conversate with both, and then the decision will be made. He never overrides. And I think that's great that he gives that level of autonomy to the judges. There's trust there. Mm-hmm. But if a decision is split, there'll be conversations had. It won't just be, I'm going to make that call. And I love that.
Yeah. How many times has he told us that he's been outvoted?
Yeah. So and that's the way, why have a panel of 5 if one guy can still make the final call? It's
you might as well have one judge.
Correct. So
awesome. Excited. And then obviously after that is ICN Nationals, which is our home state. So I'm actually excited about that, to meet and network with people from other states that I don't have a chance to see. Like there's people that we online, coaches and stuff. So I reckon that's just going to be a massive social vibe, just to see all the people. Like obviously, we've got Benny from SA who's coming down, which, be good to see him and some of the other guys too. So that's going to be a big social vibe for sure. So I can't wait for that one. I'll obviously just be there on the Sunday.
Yeah. I think the one thing that, sometimes our sport cops a bit of flack, and, there's been a lot going on lately, and, judging and the way things are run and competitors and who won. But there's a lot of great things that happen in this sport. There's some incredible relationships made. People have made friends for life competing on the same day as someone. A lot of the coaches, and that's what we are too, we have such great relationships with lots of other coaches. So I think, for the bad rap sometimes it gets, the good outweighs it a millionfold, man.
Yeah. And also there's a lot of respect, across some people, across the federations too. Like I had a really, really good chat with Tony over the weekend, and he was just saying how happy he was for us boys. And I was, telling him the same. And there's that mutual respect there between, we can all work and be successful together. Some people don't always see it that way, which is unfortunate. But, with those people that we've built some really, really good relationships with and that we respect, it's really, really good to see that we're just all happy for each other and we can all make the sport grow together, which is all we ever want.
For sure.
All right, let's get into some questions. Now, I want to get into one. I'm not going to look on my phone because there was actually a backwards and forwards about this, and I kind of sent you guys the screenshots to the anonymous question that was coming in. But there was an anonymous question or insinuation of someone that may have been taking performance-enhancing drugs and competed recently over the weekend, and they may potentially be doing our show, and for us to test them. And when I sent you guys those screenshots, we were trying to figure out, like, who is this? Because they gave us some details. Said, oh, this person did that show, and they did that show, and they did really, really well, and they're also doing your show. And I was like, can they just tell us who it is? Because we'll test them. Like, we test overall winners, but we random test. We'll test them. And as soon as I sent to you guys that kind of message that I was getting through anonymously, I was like, let's find out who this person is right now. Let's find this person, and we're going to freaking test them. And then they actually sent through the name, and we looked it up, and they're not competing with us. So I'm not too sure if they just pulled their season, but they definitely haven't registered. And I don't know if they tested them over the weekend. I'm not too sure, but it's something that I will reach out to the Fed and say, hey, if you have tested this person, push that test through and get it done, because you may get something from it. Again, there was other statements and other questions we get about how do you guys feel about fake natties coming in the sport, those kind of things. And we've always spoken about, we do more testing than technically the Olympics per competitor, right? So we can only do the best we possibly can with testing the overall winners and also randomly testing people. And I know that we've even had discussions of people that we already know we might randomly test.
For sure, definitely. And we even did some out of season pro testing at the New South Wales show on the weekend. We had some pros come to the show, so we tested them.
Yeah.
So definitely. It's definitely not feasible to test everyone. Equally, if we had a hunch or anything, an inkling that we thought somebody was, would we test them? 1,000,000% yes, absolutely. Equally, it is a fine line between, testing someone that you believe and just taking every accusation that somebody is on and testing every single person, because you just don't know. I'm not saying that this person that said it in isn't correct. I'm sure you are correct. I'm not using that as an example. I'm just saying it could get really dangerous if you just start testing everyone that gets an accusation made about them, because, we're in a sport where sometimes, somebody, beats somebody or goes ahead of somebody and they're not happy, and, they can make an accusation out of frustration and things like that. So, if we thought that there was a case and we knew about it, we would 1,000% test that athlete, hands down.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to be doing testing this weekend, both days, testing every overall winner and also testing the overall pro athletes too, and also randomly testing. So there's going to be a lot of testing going on.
There's going to be a lot of urine.
There's going to be a lot of rubber gloves and holding little yellow containers for sure.
Oh, man.
But it's what we're here for and what we've got to do. We've got to keep that honesty in the sport and that integrity there. So we're going to keep doing it. And I did see ICN doing it over the weekend too. They were doing it. I saw them chasing people down, getting to come test. They tested my athletes that won, because I had two that won overalls. So they tested them. So we're all trying to do the right thing here and try to keep it as safe as possible for every athlete. All right, I want to get into another one. So there was a question about timeframes between seasons. A fitness competitor that came very close but came second, and their feedback was they need more density overall. So how long of an off season, how long between their comp season should they really have? I know I've had this discussion with an athlete actually this morning,
For sure,
who wanted to roll around and do, next year, spring. So, compete in 12 months time. And I literally just said to her, okay, this is the time that we've had weeks that we've had building. This is the weeks we've had dieting. This is the weeks we're going to have recovering. This is the weeks we're going to have building again. And this is the weeks we're going to have dieting again if we do season C, spring next year. And then when I laid it out, she's like, okay, there's not much time, is there? I was like, no, especially if you have a goal of trying to hit that top spot, trying to hit that overall in a fitness or in a sports lineup, you need more time. You need more time. So I don't know about you, but majority of my athletes now are taking a full 12-month growth phase. So literally they're competing every 2 years.
Yeah.
Especially those ones that are in fitness and sports, or even if it's figure, you just need more time, because it's very, very competitive. And we have some very, very impressive physiques that have a lot of mass on them, even at a young age, as we've seen. And they just need more time. Like the overall winner at ICN over the weekend, she's 19 for fitness. Incredible. She's 19.
Crazy. Yeah, pretty rare, man.
If she has a 1-2 year off season, she's just going to get better. So you got to think about those kind of people you're going to be up against, and to really not be in a rush to jump back on stage, especially if your goal is to continue to level up. You just need more time.
Yeah.
What do you think, MG?
Man, I think about, I've got a lot of sports and fitness competitors, and I think about, my competitors this season that have been patient. I'll use like a Chloe, for example, who, is a little bit of a hard gainer, but has really had to grind out. It's taken the best part of 2 years of growth phases to achieve the aesthetic that we've been looking for. So I even think, depending on the athlete, everyone's different, everyone grows differently. But, for someone who's a bit of a hard gainer, it's probably closer to 2 years in reality, meaning that you probably can't compete for 2.5. If you're looking to, and one of the things that you said in the question, and one of the words that's really important is, I need to create a denser look, right? This density comes from time, man. It really, really does. So, can you make the required improvements if you do season, spring, and then want to do season spring again? In my opinion, I don't think so. If your feedback was different and your feedback was, hey, muscularity-wise, shape-wise, you were on the money, but you just weren't lean enough, that's a different conversation. But from a growth perspective, I would say 18 months growing as a minimum, meaning you wouldn't compete for 2 to 2.5 years, I think would be the probably best case scenario.
Yeah. And you got to think, if you're an athlete listening to this, you're going to be up against athletes where their coaches are telling them to take 2 years off.
Yeah.
So they're the type of people you're going to be competing against potentially, where they're with a coach that's telling them to take more time to grow more. So if you think you can turn around in 1 year, where the person you're going to be up against has probably taken 2 to 3 years off, they're going to be hard to beat. So
and I mean, you look at all the top level natty pros. Use Scotty as an example. There's a reason Scotty doesn't compete every year, because he refuses to come back and not be improved, right? But even someone at Scotty's level, who's one of the hardest trainers that I know, lifts heavy, ticks every box every single day, knows that he needs a couple of years to improve.
Yep, definitely. All right, let's move on to another one. This one is about deloads, and this is about deloads in a fat loss phase. During a deload in a fat loss phase, do you keep calories the same or do you reduce them?
Yeah. So again, athlete dependent, and depending on how far into the dig phase that they are, will also depend, pulling it back for a second, how often that deload will need to be. So somebody at the start of prep, for example, might need a deload at week 7, 8, 9. Just depends on how they're recovering and how they're performing. As they get deeper and deeper into prep and recoverability continues to diminish, that deload may need to happen sooner. Again, the answer to whether you need to change calories or not will just depend on where you are in relation to your goal. Ultimately, if you think about the level of expenditure that is going to be removed from training at 70%, if we're going to call it that as an estimation, if I'm doing 5 weight sessions at 350 calories, 400 calories per weight session, and I know I'm burning 2,000 calories from my weight training, and I've still got a big fat loss goal to get to, and next week's deload is only going to yield me 1,250 calories. Personally, I will, maybe look at adding expenditure via other means. So whether I say, hey, this week what we're going to do, we're going to pull the weights back, we're going to add in 2,000 extra steps a day, just to make sure that, our net result is still the same. But I don't really change food, man, on a deload week. Not very often.
Yeah, especially in a fat loss phase. If we're talking comp prep and you've got like an end date, and you need to make sure you keep moving, then you might not change anything and just keep digging and just allow the deload to help with fatigue and recovery as it should, and not worry about, bringing food down to counteract it or whatever that may be. I think if you're just doing a general fat loss phase and really the end date of it isn't really strict, then you can do what you want. Really, you can deload and bring food up to even help with even more recovery. You can or you can deload and bring food down to keep fat loss going, but without having so much restriction on recovery and fatigue. You can do it 1,001 ways, but I think if you've got a locked in date and it's a comp prep, you
Yeah,
probably
just keep pushing.
think things moving for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
The other question that we had, which is about deloading, but not what phase it's in, but do you deload or do you devolume?
Yeah. So, I mean, they kind of end up being the same thing sometimes, but I definitely deload. So I'll give you an example of like one of my last athletes' deload days. I'll use like a fitness and a sports competitor. So her leg day, let's call it her glute and ham day. She had RDLs, hip thrusts, hamstring curls. She had a Smith machine Bulgarian. She had abductions, and she might have had a GHR, right? So say 6 movement patterns at an average of say 3.5 to 4 sets, so 24 sets. That would probably come down to maybe between 14 and 16 sets.
Mm-hmm.
And that load, so if I was doing a 100 kilo RDL, that athlete's load that week would probably be like 80.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was 3 sets of 10 reps at 100, this week it's probably 2 by 8 at 80.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a very generalized example of how I would program it.
Yeah. That's a very good way to do it. A very traditional way to do it for sure. I know for me personally, and it's only started doing it since Scotty started to coach me, is he likes to devolume or try. He uses that method a bit. And for me, I like it for myself because I still think I'm strong enough to hit the same weight, but cut a set off, and that's awesome for me. Like if I've got to do, instead of doing 3 sets, I'll do 2. I'm laughing, right? Like laughing like a shark, as Scotty would say, right?
Laughing like a shark, exactly. Yeah.
So it really just depends. I've got some clients where they need a deload, devolume, whatever you want to call it. They need a recovery week, right? Where it's because strength is dropping. So therefore, I'll be like, okay, actually, let's deload.
For sure.
Where some of them go, I'm just feel a little bit banged up, and like my recovery, my DOMS is lasting a little bit too long. So I'll be like, okay, let's just devolume.
For sure.
And cut a set off every exercise, for instance, is an easy way to do it.
I've always just been of the mindset, like I'm thinking about things like connective tissue, the things where the little niggles start. And that's why I've kind of always opted for a load first approach and then move into volume reduction on specific movement patterns. For the most part as well, just so people know, things like, extensions, abductions, calves, a lot of those things, man, I just tell my athletes to match the volume of last week. Don't overload it, but still match it. Like you're fine. You can still do 3 by 15 on a bicep curl. I'm not concerned. Unless you're telling me that your feedback is your elbows are feeling a bit banged up and things like that. But I'm really talking about the bigger movement patterns.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, makes complete sense. Yeah, for sure. What boundaries do you have with clients? From contact hours, does it differ between comp prep or, show day or off season? Boundaries with contact hours.
I'm laughing because sometimes to my detriment, I have none. Now, look, anyone that knows me or is coached by me knows, I do give a lot. I respond very, very often. I do try and have, some time, especially when I get home from working at the gym, where I kind of say, all right, it's a no phone zone. But equally, I've had athletes that have messaged me or called me in a bit of a rut at a ridiculous hour, and I have dealt with it straight away. It really, really just depends, man. Sometimes, you can find yourself in a position where you never, ever catch up on your messages. And I'm sure, MT, you've got a massive, massive team. I'm sure you live this way, but it's pretty rare that all of your messages are responded to when you don't have DMs sitting in your IG or on your messenger. And for me, sometimes that feels a bit overwhelming. So it's like, well, maybe I'll just do 30 minutes at 8:30 p.m. because tomorrow when I wake up, I feel a little bit fresher. I'm trying to get better at finding the balance. And I think, being a father now as well and coming home and having limited time with Talia because, she's due to go to bed or needs to have a bath, I'm getting better at it. But I don't really have set boundaries in place in terms of cut off at this time. You can't contact me at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much say that the support is always there.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I don't have like set times, but pretty much it's getting 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I'm not really going to look at my phone after that point.
Yeah, fair.
And then as soon as I go to bed, it is on do not disturb because I don't want any buzzing, my phone lighting up. I don't need any of that stuff. I'm sleeping, right? Everyone else should be sleeping too, right?
For sure, yeah.
And then weekends, if it's not like a comp or it's not a peak week coming up or something like that, pretty much Saturday afternoon, again, start to not look at the phone as much. Sunday, pretty much not trying to look at the phone at all.
Yes, makes sense, yeah.
And then other than that, contacting me early in the morning till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night is It's a pretty big window to get stuff done.
Did you remember on the potty like 3-4 weeks ago, I had that phone gel as the thumbnail?
Yes.
Yeah, so me bought this awesome, it's just like a mini jar, right? And you come home and you put your phone in the jar and it's got a lock and you lock the thing up and you can't get your phone out. Just not because, you know, there's no control, but it just builds the habit of, all right, it's in there, you don't touch it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like it.
The phone gel. The phone gel.
You know what's funny? I think, is it you or Scotty or maybe both? Do you actually have Do Not Disturb timed on your phone?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know that like over the last weekends when we've had shows, I think you boys still have the time where it goes on and off. And we've tried to contact you early in the morning because it's a show day or something. We need to message you. And we're like, these boys have bloody Do Not Disturb still
Yeah, I
on.
know. It's always just, if that happens, text me.
Yeah.
I'll see the text, but the call just doesn't ring.
Yeah, I think
it's more just like if you imagine being at home and like Talia's asleep and then it's like the phone rings. So it's just the safety blanket here, but equally, I don't turn it off when we go away as well.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Okay, so this one's a little bit more in depth and we'll go through this one. So how do you decide which category to enter into? Not conditioned enough for fitness, but have too much upper body and quad development for bikini. Is it better to be more muscly bikini competitor or an unconditioned fitness competitor? Or should I try wellness? Or also sports?
Yeah, all right. Let's go through that. I think just straight off after hearing that, I would never want to be the under-conditioned fitness girl. I would rather be the over-muscular bikini girl out of those. But it sounds like, based on your description there, that you probably need to do wellness.
Yeah, well, they said too much upper body and quad development for bikini. So,
yeah. So if you're symmetrical,
if you're symmetrical, then yeah, but you can always pose.
So you sound like a perfect sports model.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, you're kind of sports then. If you're not conditioned enough for fitness, but you have upper body and quad development, then you're probably sports.
Yeah, and we think about what Luke's been doing really, really well at sports. It's the rounder muscle bellies, not necessarily shredded, big quads, big shoulders, you know, nice dense back. That's been winning consistently across most feds.
Yep.
You know, if I've looked at the ICN shows, obviously I've seen all of our shows. That's been a pretty consistent winner versus, you know, all of our fitness winners have been pretty inside out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and
you actually bring up a good point because, you know, people look at the winners of other states and they go, okay, this person's coming to nationals. This is who I'm going to be up against. And obviously we've been at every single NBA show and we know, you know, the winners and who's coming and those kind of things too. And I can really see that there's obviously consistency in the winners, obvious, right? Because Stu is at every single show and he's judging.
For sure.
And this is not a dig at ICM because they know this and they admit this. They have differences in each state, right? And I've seen some winners in the States, like SA, WA was recent, and I'm like, holy shit, what are they going to do when they come to nationals? Because some of those sports girls in some of those states are freaking jacked.
Yeah, they look awesome. I know, yeah.
What's going to happen? Are they going to throw them in fit? Like, how? So I've looked at, and even I've seen some bikini competitors, I'm like, that person's too small. Or that person's too conditioned for what they go for in ICN Vic. So, and that's why, you know, if we go back to what I said at the start of this potty, is I'm just really interested to see what happens. And I just hope to God that, as I said, the Australian head judge steers the ship and we get that consistency because I don't know what they're going to do. Because I've seen some of those winners of those other states and I'm like, they've got an impressive physique, but what does that even mean? Even, wellness has always been an interesting one too that we've spoken about. And I think I saw the wellness competitor from SA. She's shredded, right? I'm like, what are they going to do? Because over the weekend, they just went for like a traditional bikini wellness soft look. That person's the winner technically in that state. The other person's the winner in this state. They're going to come together. The wellness girl in Queensland was our sports winner in New South Wales NBA. So, and she's completely balanced. So, and then she's going to come and potentially do wellness, I'm assuming, in ICN nationals. Yeah. What are they? There's literally 3 different physiques on stage. Literally 3 different physiques. Like, what are they going to do?
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. So
sit and watch.
Yeah. I'm gonna be intrigued. But what happens there? There's going to be some disappointed people because of that.
Yeah, and that's always the challenge when there is, I suppose, inconsistency state to state. is basically who on the judging panel is going to, lead the charge and make that call. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah,
We'll determine who's disappointed and who's not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. Why doesn't NBA post the winners of each category on their page like other federations do? So I believe, ICN do it. Do every single state do it? I don't think all the states do it. Definitely Vic posts every single category winner. I think Queensland do. I'm not too sure of SA or W. I'm not too sure, and obviously IFBB do, but they don't have as many categories as the Natty Feds. Honestly, we just post the overall winners. I think it's like a potential, like an algorithm thing or something like that, where it's just like we just don't want to post that much and don't want to spam everyone with like, how many categories do we have in a show? Like it could.
Man, the Vic show had 96.
Yeah, so 96 posts.
Yeah.
In one day ain't going to go down well, right? So
yeah, nationals will be way more than that. Like it might be 120. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah. But what we do is we do a story for each category win, and we save those stories on our highlights. So instead of posting it as a post, we do it as a story, and you could follow on that way. All right, I think we might finish on this last one because I did talk about Bali, and one of the things is we have our retreat, our TMG retreat, straight after the Bali show on the Monday, and it goes for a week. And we actually did get a question. Can you guys chat about the up and coming retreat more? What's happening there? Are there still spots left? So we got the retreat. It runs for a week from Monday to Monday, straight after our Bali show. MG is going to be able to come to this one. He's not going to have another baby, not being able to make it to the last one.
There.
It's us three guys. We are there with you all. We do all the training sessions together. We take you through all the training sessions. Be very, very scared of Scotty because he pushes you very, very hard and takes you to levels that you've never been before. But we also assess things like, I know we did a lot of assessment of people's injuries, activation issues, things like that. So we just basically take everyone through all 5 training sessions for the week. We obviously also have seminars too. I know Scotty's doing one about post-comp reverse recovery phase, which is perfect because it's straight after the season. And I know you and we have some really, really good lectures lined up too. And then we also have some activities. I think we're going to be doing quad biking, which will be super exciting. So I'm keen for that. I'm a bit of a petrol.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. It's also just like, the 1 week where, for me, and this is kind of like what kicked this off for us, is I always had that dream of like, I just want to live like a full-time bodybuilder in another country just to experience it. And this is literally what this week is. It's not just about, getting uncomfortable with your training and learning new things about how to develop your training, but it's all of your food included. It's recovery, it's massages, it's walks, it's breakfast. It's, the seminars that we're going to be running are all athlete specific. And if you're a coach or someone who's trying to, develop your skills on coaching competitors specifically, what you would take out of this retreat is just, you wouldn't get it anywhere else, basically, man. So,
yeah, I can't wait.
Add some fun days, add some quad biking in there, add some beach time and some group walks, and it's, man, just literally would be the greatest experience. But the food thing for me, man, having your food cooked exactly to your macros and delivered at your door every day, like you just don't get that opportunity anywhere else. So
yeah, what we're actually doing this time around for this retreat is we're actually going to go to Motion's Cafe every single day. So we go there, we can pick off the menu, all the calories and macros are there, and we're all going to eat together, which is awesome. And obviously the resort has breakfast and they can customize anything to your needs, which is amazing. And then obviously we have Motion meals delivered for dinner too. And we're going to go out for dinner too together as a group, from like a welcome dinner and also a farewell dinner. So we're going to do a couple of things that we're super excited about. And obviously too, I think nearly everyone that's coming to the retreat is also going to be there for the Bali show too. So that's going to be absolutely awesome for all us to be at the show, to experience the show, and then the next day, start the retreat, which would be absolutely amazing.
So to answer your question, yes, if you're quick, probably 1 or 2 spots we could make it work, but yeah, you'd want to get to us by the end of this week for sure.
Yeah, so just DM any of us 3 or the Prep Coach page and we can send you out all the details. All right, MG, that's it. We'll leave it there.
To catch up.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait for this weekend to see everyone. If you recognize us, see us, please stop us, tap us on the shoulder, trip us over, something like that, to get our attention.
Don't trip me. My knee's so bad. Please don't trip me.
Yeah, true. Yeah, do not trip MG.
Hey, most likely MG will trip over himself. So don't worry. It's funny.
Super excited for this weekend.
I might see all of you and meet some new people on the weekend. We can't wait to deliver, a pretty special nationals. And again, just thanks everyone for their support, not just of NBA, but obviously of the podcast, because that's, contributed a big way in helping us grow. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye, everybody.